back in the classroom. I am just sending a video over. I know it's getting close to the end of the school year for you, and so I thought a video might be fun. And maybe we can, if we get some dry days, I hope to go out and ride with a farmer in the tractor while they plant their corn and beans. So I look forward to seeing where this last lesson takes us, and hopefully we can see some farming happen. We've had a little bit of rain here where we live, and when there's too much rain, the tractors cannot go out in the field because they're so huge and it's really muddy, right? And what happens when we walk in the mud or drive in the mud? Just gets a little stuck. We could get a little stuck. So we're gonna wait and see what the weather does, but I hope to be able to bring you a fun video and we can learn from the classroom what it's like to be out in the field. I did forget to mention that, there's so much to learn about farming, and sometimes we can't learn it all just in one day or from one video, right? So I forgot to mention that while you're watching this video, maybe write down a few questions that you might have, and if your teacher can email them to me, then I will try to answer whatever I can. But yeah, just so our video doesn't get super long, I'm going to focus on some really specific things, or just a few specific things. But if you have some more questions about something else, I would love to either send over another video or just email back and have some more fun facts for you. So whatever works. I can't wait to hear what you have questions about. So a big part of farming is worrying about the weather and watching the weather. So today, last night actually, it kind of rained a lot. So we're gonna check my rain gauge. You see that my rain gauge, all of these numbers on this side are in inches, and these are centimeters on the other side. And so my rain gauge here is showing, if you can kind of see, my rain gauge is showing that we had almost 1 inch of rain, which is kind of a lot of rain after we've had some other days of rain. So I just don't think that we're going to be able to get out in the field today. But the other thing is that, sometimes rain will happen at one house, but maybe not a house in a different town or something, right? So when farms are spread out, sometimes one farm might get a lot of rain and the next farm might not. So we will go check some fields in a little bit. Darn it, we won't be farming today. We'll try again for tomorrow. I don't think that tomorrow is going to work either for farming. It's raining again. Okay, so it's another day and we are checking the field. So we drove out here to the field and we're gonna see if it's dried out. Here's the field that we are going to plant with corn and soybeans. And you can kind of see way out there, it looks a little drier, but up here close by, it's darker dirt. So that means it's pretty muddy. And I just tried to see how muddy it was by stepping on it, and look at how muddy this is. There's no way that a tractor can drive in here. My shoes are full of mud. So there's no way that a tractor is gonna be able to drive in here, but the field is ready to go. One half of the field will be corn and field corn, not sweet corn and not popcorn, but field corn that we use for animals and lots of other foods after it's been processed. And then the other half of the field will be soybeans. So we'll be all ready to go once it gets dry. We just have to wait patiently. I thought that the ground was ready to go, but actually the farmer did have to work the ground a little bit. We say work the ground whenever we use machinery to break up big clumps of dirt or some of the stuff that was left over and didn't break down over the winter. So the farmer just drives through the field, breaking up that dirt. Okay, we're headed out to the field today. It looks nice and dry, and the ground has been worked, and we're ready to get planting. Soybeans today. So these are the soybeans in the seed bins on top of the planter. I crawled up here so you could see inside of there. They are different colors because they have been treated, and we treat the soybeans to make sure that they stay healthy under the dirt. It's kind of like some medicine that they put on. And here's what it looks like up high. We are in the tractor planting soybeans, and this is Mitch. He's our farmer. And I'm so glad that we finally are out in the field and get to show you what we're doing. So right now we are in the tractor. Let me set myself down here. We are in the tractor, and behind us is the planter, and then in front of us is the tractor, and we're going forward. So I'm going to explain a little bit about what is happening in the tractor first, and then I will turn around and show you what is going on in the planter. So the first interesting thing is that our farmer is not even steering the steering wheel. So these computers over here, these monitors over here, help the farmers know exactly where they need to be driving, and so they actually drive the tractor, and they keep track of how much seed is going in the ground, where it's going, and what has all been planted. So this monitor here is showing the GPS. So this is how the tractor knows what straight lines it wants to do, and make sure that it doesn't plant over on the rows we've already done, and it doesn't swerve and leave a space and miss an area that we can plant. So the blue side is what's already been planted, and the gray is what hasn't been planted. And so you can see that we're butting up our 2 end rows perfectly. And then over here is actually showing how much, you can kind of see it, how much of the field has been planted. So here's the whole field on this iPad, and we do the outside rows, they're called the end rows. We do the end rows first, and then we go back and do the middle of the field and just go back and forth. So this is showing that we just have a little bit of this field done, and we have, what are we, like a quarter of the way done maybe?
Yeah.
We have 3/4 of the field left. And then the colors are showing how many little soybean seeds are being dropped in each row. So we call that the population. And so that's keeping track of the population. It's kind of hard to see, there's a glare, but the red is maybe a lower population. Is that right? Yeah, lower population, and then the orange is a little higher. And so we have a good mix, and so that is what's going to work best. All plants, and corn and soybeans, all different plants and varieties want their spacing differently. And so we have to keep track of that to make sure that the plants are happy. I think we read a couple books in some of our classes that plants don't really like to be crowded, and we have to make sure that there's enough nutrients and water for all the plants. So it's very specific about how many seeds are planted in each row. Okay, so now I am looking to the back of the tractor. So here was the front, and now we look at the back. That's a nice thing also about the GPS steering, is that the farmer doesn't have to always be watching where he's going, so he can look backwards to make sure that all this equipment is working well. So the seed, all of our little seeds are in the yellow, what do you call them?
So all the
storage boxes
are in the middle yellow tubs there. And then through vacuum pressure, the seed is actually brought from those yellow containers down the black tubes and delivered to each individual row. And then there's equipment in each of those rows to make sure it's planting one seed at a time.
And how many rows are there?
There are 24 rows.
24 rows on this planter, but planters come in lots of different sizes. Go ahead.
And almost everything back there is ran through hydraulic pressure. So hydraulic oil is being pumped back there to keep the planter down, or if I need to pick it up. It's all ran by hydraulics and that vacuum pressure that I talked about.
And so the planter will actually dig, there's little discs that will actually dig the dirt up, drop the seeds in, and then there's wheels and discs on the back side that will cover the seed back up. And it won't smash it down. The seed doesn't want to be packed into the dirt, but it does want to be covered up. And how many seeds did you say we're planting? How many acres?
We're planting, we'll have about 76 acres here when we're all said and done. And we plant about 145,000 seeds per acre. And an acre is about the size of a football field.
Perfect. So you used to not be able to drive very fast when you were planting, but we really can kind of drive fast. You can see the dust coming up. You can drive, it's still much slower than a car, but you can drive pretty fast and get a lot of acres done in a day. Besides all the technology, the biggest things that have changed over the years is that the planters have gotten much larger, And all of this technology that comes up to the tractor is a big difference. And also our tractors have changed. The tractor in here is very comfortable. There's lots of room. It has air conditioning and
we got a
heat.
massage seat.
The seat even has a little massage. You know, we used to have to plant without even a cab on, and so if it was windy or even half raining sometimes, if it wasn't too muddy, then we had to do that in the just being outside, and it was hot or sunny. So lots of things have changed.
So now we're getting towards the end. If you want to stay looking back,
Okay.
you will hear a loud beep here pretty soon, and that will tell me that we are all done planting. We have planted all the rows back into an area where we've already planted. So I'll lift up the planter, I'll turn around, and then put it back down, and once again the planter will start planting when it needs to. It knows when we're planting an area that we've already been in. It's a little bumpy here on the end. So here comes that noise. Now we can pick up the planter and we'll start turning around.
And see, he just picks it up a little bit off the ground, just so it doesn't dig up the seeds that have already been planted here. And then he'll put it back down when he gets lined up again.
And the good part with GPS, I don't have to stop. As long as I line up good, I can put the planter right back down and I don't have to quit moving. It's a little bumpy on these end rows again. And the planter started planting again.
And now it's not up anymore, you can see. So now it's showing that we have already planted. You can't see with the glare for some reason, but it's showing now that we've already planted there. So our planter has actually stopped planting, dropping little seeds so that we don't plant twice. And then we're just gonna push a button over here and it's getting lined back up, and we can stop steering and it'll drive itself. This is the cool technology that we have in agriculture. I don't know if you can see, but over there's where we planted, and then over here has not been planted yet. Last year, this field was corn stalks, and so that's what you see all on the ground. And farmers like to rotate corn and soybeans each year. So last year it was corn, and this year it is soybeans. So after the planter has planted the seeds, the farmer can go out and dig them up just to make sure that everything is working correctly with the planter and the tractor. And that's what they're doing now to make sure that all the seeds are being planted, because we wouldn't want to drive this whole field and then find out that nothing is coming up, right? When it starts to grow, nothing will be popping up. So they dig up the seeds just to make sure that they are planting correctly. It's getting a closer look at the planter here. Those are the seed bins that hold the seed. We looked in them earlier. Then here's a look at all the different hoses that are carrying fluids, grease, oil, and the seeds to each row. That yellow thing, I think, holds the seeds for just a little bit. These are the first things that dig up the dirt. That larger disc will dig up the dirt more. Then the seed will drop down from up there into the dirt. And then these last two discs will push the dirt back over top of the seed and roll the dirt over top to sort of make it flat again. And here's what it looks like all planted. Hi, so I just wanted to send over one last video and talk a little bit more about what's going to happen over the summer as our soybeans grow, and then just do a little activity at the end. So I thought I would send over one last video, one last part of the video, and we can finish up our Ag in the Classroom for the school year. So we are done planting all of our soybeans and corn, which is such a good feeling when you can get that all done, and then we just get to take care of the plants as they are. We just get to take care of the plants as they are growing. So there's not much, that we can do as the plants are growing. We just hope for rain, and We hope that it gets sunshine and no wind or anything like that that could damage the plants as they grow. But we also will spray some fertilizer or some chemicals on the fields to, if the farmer chooses to. You don't have to, but if the farmer chooses to, you can spray some chemicals that will kill the weeds that steal some of the water and the nutrients from the corn and soybeans. So the farmer can choose to do that if they want to. So that's something that they do in the summertime. And then there are lots of other things that farmers do throughout the summertime while the plants are growing. They have to take care of their machinery. There's a lot of finances that go into it. They have to make sure that they're keeping track of their cost, of how much things have cost, that they're keeping their expenses low. If they have other employees, they keep them busy by getting machinery ready. They can also haul last year. So sometimes at harvest time, you take the corn and soybeans right to market, and then they're sold and you're done with it. But sometimes you store it in the big grain bins that you see on the countryside. And then throughout the summertime, you can deliver those corn and soybeans as you sell them and you deliver them. And that's how the farmer can make money. So then sometimes they're doing that in the summertime instead of doing it at harvest when they're already really busy in the fields and they have to get all their crops out. This is kind of a way to spread out doing all of that work. And also it helps them spread out their paycheck. A lot of jobs, you get a paycheck every 2 weeks all year long. And a farmer has to really keep track of that and budget that because they might only get their paychecks all at harvest time. So storing it on the farm in those big grain bins is a way for them to take that cash in, that money in, get their figure out a way to pay themselves, get their paychecks in more regularly, if that makes sense. I can talk more about that in a separate video if we want to go into finances, but just another thing that farmers do over the summertime, and it helps to keep their operation flowing. I also forgot to mention that over the summer, of course, if farmers have different farm animals that they're taking care of, the cows, pigs, chickens, all of that kind of stuff, of course, those all need to be taken care of over the summer. So it's kind of a good time to take a break from the corn and soybeans and to focus on the livestock, getting their bedding cleaned up, getting projects done for them, all that kind of stuff. They grind feed. Sometimes we'll use the corn and soybeans that we harvest and we'll grind feed for the next few months. So there's just lots of things to always be done on the farm. So the other thing that I want to talk about is that our soybeans were planted. So about any time between now and about 10 days, so next week sometime, our soybeans could pop up out of the ground. So I think we talked about in some of our classes that the first thing that little seed will do is, first off, it'll get nice and warm under our warm soil. It's been beautiful the last few days, and so the soil will get nice and warm. And then it will soak up the moisture, especially if it gets some rain, which I think we got a little bit of rain last night that rained on our soybean seeds. And then it will soak up that water, and then it will swell and then burst out, do that germination process that we've talked about. It will germinate and it will have that little seedling, that little sprout that will burst, and then that seedling will work its way up to the top of the soil and burst through, and then it will start to capture the sunlight at the top of the soil. So that'll happen in about 10 days. Then in 45-ish days, all of this is kind of estimated. It all depends on the weather and the rain and the nutrients in the soil and what kind of seed you have. So all of this is really estimated dates, but just to kind of give you an idea of what happens all summer long. So for the next 45 days or so, the plant just keeps growing. It gets taller, it gets more leaves, and it just keeps growing taller is basically what keeps happening. It's in the inside of the seed of the plant. You can't really see it, but in the inside, it is forming, it's gathering all those nutrients to make that soybean that we are going to harvest in the fall. So over the next 45 days, it'll keep growing. And then in about 45 days, it'll be full height. It'll be as tall as it will be. And then the flowers will begin to form and on the plant. So then about 20 days after that, so 65 days from planting, or it'll be July 20th, the bean will have little flowers on it that sometimes you can't really see, but that is what will turn into the bean pods with the soybeans in it. So then 10 days after that, so the end of July, about July 30th, the bean plant will have bean pods on the plant, but they will just be empty. They will not have any beans in them yet. Then 10 days after that, so for 10 days, it'll be forming that bean pod that will protect the beans as it's growing. Animals love to eat the fruit or the seeds of plants, and so that bean pod will help that soybean stay safe from birds and lots of other things. So August 9th is when the beans, the actual soybeans, will start to form. So that'll be almost about the time that you're coming back to school. August is when we usually start school. So that'll be the time you're coming back to school is when our soybeans will just finally get started forming. And then towards the end of August, when we are back in school, that is when our soybeans will start to dry down. And then only a couple weeks after that, we'll start harvesting. So right when we get back to school, I love when the beans start to change colors. So they are beautiful green plant all summer long, and then they will start to change into a yellow and then have some like even orange leaves on it, and then it will dry down into that really crunchy plant, and then that is when it is time to get harvested. And there's no perfect date for when that's going to be. It's around 100 days, I think, from planting to harvest, but there's not a perfect date. Again, it all depends on when it was planted, if we've had a lot of rain. If towards the end of the season there's a lot of rain, those seeds can't dry down. It'll just keep soaking it up, and that's okay for it to do, but you can't harvest it like that. It does have to be dried down a little bit. And we know that the springtime is a very rainy time, and then summer has some rain too, but fall usually dries down a little bit more. So that's kind of the life cycle of our soybean plant. If you heard any funny noises in my last video, I just have to show you that my dog here is a crazy dog, and she's chewing on her bone on top of my plants. So if you heard some running around or drinking water or chewing of a bone, this is her. So say hi to Jojo. Jojo! Oh, she's too busy. But she's so pretty and cute. Okay, so for the last part of my video, I just want to talk about how agriculture is, or I'm sorry, what parts of school or school subjects might relate to farming. Why do you think that it's so important to learn about all different subjects and things like that in school if you want to be a farmer? So what we are going to do is you all can brainstorm together and talk about what subjects in school do you think is needed for farming. So I want you to start thinking about what subjects in school are related to farming. And then if you can, while you're brainstorming, think about how a farmer uses the different subjects in school. So for instance, you might not know just by what we had talked, like for one thing that we talked about, I showed a lot of technology. So the technology subject in school is really important to learn about for farming. And you guys can talk about what parts of technology are needed in farming. We can also talk about math or science, things like that. So I'll rattle off a couple more subjects, and then you guys can think about how those might be needed in farming. And farming is just so diverse and has lots of different things to think about that people don't always think about. And so just kind of get your brain thinking how it's related to lots of other things in the world and things that you learn about in your classroom. And someday if you want to be a farmer, even if it seems silly to, learn about how to use a computer because you want to drive a tractor, look at how important it is to still learn how to use a computer. Or even reading, we have to read the bags of the seed. We have to see how many days does it take to plant, how many seeds per acre can we plant. All of that information is important even for reading or math and all that kind of stuff. So I will rattle off, you guys can start thinking of some subjects, and then I will rattle off a couple other subjects, and then you can dive into how you think they're used in farming. So have you thought of some different school subjects that are related to farming? So I'll just tell you a couple more, and then we can talk about what parts of farming might use these subjects. So do you have math? There's physical education or gym class, health class, computers and technology, literacy, which is reading. It's reading on here. Literacy, How about botany? Does anyone know what botany is? Think about what you think botany might mean. There's physics and English, science, history. History might be important. Chemistry, economics, technology, which is what we kind of talked about with computers, social studies. How about art? Do you think art is used for anything in the agriculture field? Maybe think outside of just planting corn and soybeans, but other areas that need to know about plants. There's also biology, geography, writing, and language arts. So those are kind of, some of them are a little bit repetitive, but think of ways that farmers need to know all about these kinds of subjects to do their job. Thank you so much for letting me come to your classroom over the last few months. This was a fun first year for me, and I hope that this video was kind of fun. If you have any questions or super unique subjects that stumped you on how it could be tied into agriculture, let me know and I can help brainstorm a little bit. Some fun ones might be, we talked about physical education or the gym class. It is hard work sometimes to crawl up and down the different pieces of machinery. You also have to do everything very, very safely. Safety is so important in the agriculture industry. There are so many pieces of equipment, even piles of grain. There's a certain way to be around them for safety. So there's just so many things to know about how our body, what our body needs to do to stay safe and to do the job well, to stay active and to do the job well. So again, those are just things, even lifting things, making sure our legs are strong, our arms are strong. There's lots of heavy equipment and heavy things in the agriculture field. So that's just one way that farmers should know about physical education or gym. Also, how about biology? Biology is the study of living things. So obviously we are planting living things. So that's another thing that farmers need to know, the ins and outs of how living organisms grow and what they need and how we can replenish what they need into the dirt each year and how we can keep our soil and our earth healthy and the plants healthy. And if our plants are healthy, they're providing the whole world food. And so we have to make sure that we're doing a good job of that. So again, go through those if you can. Think of ways that they correlate with farming. And again, thank you so much for letting me join you. I can't wait to see everyone next year. And I hope that this video was fun. Bye.